Hello again.
It's your desperate house sitters.
From Canada.
Yay.
With 5 cats. This is one of it.
The thing is though, are we desperate?
We had been some desperate
days.
days.
Desperate days.
But not that bad. No, not at all.
But we're not that desperate.
No.
We've definitely been more desperate. In fact, this month is the anniversary of a 2-year anniversary of us starting the Desperate House Sitters YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago we started in Cyprus and we were extremely desperate.
Maybe you watched the video from 2 years ago. Well, today we have several topics we want to address to you. As well for house sitters in future, as well as for house owners, because there's a lot to learn about things that happen to house sitters when they're house sitting. Oh no, full of cat hair again. Like every day, they're everywhere, the cat hairs. So first of all, we would like to talk to you about review systems and reviews from house owners to house sitters and worse wisers.
Yeah.
Most of the platforms changed their the way of how you can review. So once you finish the house sit, either the house sitter and the house owners can give their own review, and they won't see what the other party was writing. Yeah. It's new even on as well on Trusted House Sitters. Even so, we know the review system from other platforms like Airbnb and so on. It's quite familiar. So when you finish a house sit and you have a good feeling and everything was fine, you probably like to leave a really nice review. Even so, we always recommend to be honest about situations, because the next house sitter might tap into that and he needs or she needs to be informed what they agree for, right? So we had a situation here in Canada where we were having the farm sit, the video you saw before. We had a lot of work to do, and we were willing to do that because we love animals. And we had
challenges with the dog situation at the beginning, because one of the dogs was belonged to the daughter. It wasn't in his natural environment. He was an old dog, and so he kind of got taken from his house to the house where we were sitting, and although he visits regularly, he was then left by his owners there with us complete strangers and not in his natural home environment. And so we had challenges with that situation because he was misbehaving and so on. We won't get into details, but
it was quite shitty situation.
That's one way of putting it. Yes. So we did our best, but we wanted advice from the owners about how we should manage the situation, because it was happening at night and we were being disturbed and we weren't getting any sleep. So
not only for one night, yeah.
Yeah, it was for several nights. So the behaviour of the owner was very weird and very extreme, as if we were asking the moon to receive guidance on how to manage the dog situation. Anyway,
after a couple of days we managed. The dog was relaxing, he felt chilled, and they were all happy and healthy. The owners came back after 2 weeks, and we had a feeling like they are behaving very strange, because we stayed another night. Our flight left a day later, and they were kind of not really welcoming us or being happy to be home.
We didn't want to. We felt like we didn't want to stay in the house. We ended up going out most of the day that extra that we stayed.
Because they were behaving a little bit strange. I was asking the owners, everything okay? Did you check your veggie garden? Because everything was growing and really looking nice. I had to water every single day because it was very hot, and they had many vegetables in the patch that had to be watered manually.
No irrigation.
On top of all the stable work with the 3 cows and the horse and the 2 dogs and so on. And they said, yeah, everything fine, all good. And so they were kind of, actually, in the end, we found out lying in our face. He brought us to the airport, thanked us several times for being there and having done that. So we left them a quite good review, I would say, explaining as well our challenges that we had, but nothing negative at all. And then I think 2 weeks later, almost after the 2 weeks were over, we were not even thinking that they will give us a review because they were not acting immediately. We got a very harsh and bad review. How can we say that? What did they do? They actually lied on the review because we were accused that we did use bleach on their floor, which we never would do. We were using normal dishwashing liquid to clean the shit.
Yeah. So we had to clean poop off a wooden floor, and it was an old wooden floor.
Very old.
And in fact, I mentioned this to the man of the couple, and said, look, we tried to clean that up, but you'll see that there are marks there, but we couldn't help that. It was,
And he seemed to be fine.
And he was like, oh, the floor needs replacing anyway.
Yeah, we want to have a new kitchen anyway, and we replace all that. And in the review, they were really rude as well, accusing me of, because they had an old horse, she's retired, she was a breeding horse, and because she didn't get enough movement, and I'm with horses all my life, I know exactly they need to be moved, so I put her out in the lounge for 5 minutes, only 3 times in the 2 weeks to make sure that she doesn't get a colic, because a colic really is bad, and she didn't have enough movement, so I made sure she get a little bit of exercise. And I don't know why, but she was writing in the review that I over-exercised her horse. I have no idea.
And we found out when we arrived that they had cameras. They had quite a big property. They had a 25 acre property, and that they had cameras in certain
wild cameras somewhere.
Wild cameras in certain places.
And obviously she was seeing me once exercising the horse for 5 minutes and decided that I over-exercised her horse, which is not the case. The horse was not even sweating or anything. But anyway, so we were accused of doing things wrong in the review, not talking to us when we were there, and not even facing us and saying, look, we figured this out or that out, it would have been nice if you would blah blah blah. So just behind our back, it's like somebody comes around you and puts your knife right into your back, not even being honest. So this can happen, unfortunately, if people are dishonest. I mean, in the beginning, they were dishonest about telling us how much work it is. It was not the truth. It was much more work than that. Of course, we figured out later, which we didn't know, that they tried to get a farm worker to do that, and they couldn't get a farm worker because farm workers don't do cows, right?
Yeah.
So very often. So they couldn't find one, but they wanted to travel, so they used a sitter platform. So this can happen to you. They lie to you in the beginning, and they lie to you even in your face if you are handing over. And I mean, from our perspective, all animals were happy and healthy.
The house was clean.
The house was clean. Everything was fine, and they were just trying to. I don't know why they did it deliberately, to destroy a sitter's existence. If we would have been dependent on this one review, we would have had a bad experience, right? We are not dependent on that because we have plenty of 5-star reviews. And we knew that they were lying. So kind of this can happen to you. And as well, I mean, if there's no communication between the house owners and the sitters for several situations, and you don't get guidance or help or whatever, you have to find your way through it by yourself, right? So coming to the second point that we want to talk to you about today is about especially what we didn't know, the cameras that were somewhere in the wild. So
surveillance.
So in the fact, surveillance, especially in America and North America, is quite a big thing. And there's different opinions about that out there. But from our perspective as sitters, we know from trusted house sitters, we everybody has to agree no cameras inside the house. But, and now?
Yeah, so the thing is that security systems now are actually getting more and more technological. And so the house that we're in at the moment, they have a security system. The moment that you try and plug a camera out or disconnect something, then they get a notification and they were messaging. We also found out, not directly but indirectly, that they get notifications every time we open an external door.
Even the door out
So
to the terrace, or the door to the garage, or the main door, or whatever.
So we got a message to say, could we use the garage door instead of the front door, because they were concerned about the cats getting out because they're house cats. And it's like, oh, okay, so we're being monitored here. Mm-hmm. And so the big question here is that where do we draw the line? You know, where does security stop and privacy begin? Mm-hmm. And I think this is a really important question that all sitters need to ask themselves, because I think moving forward, there's going to be more and more and more challenges with this type of technology that's available. We also had a situation only a couple of days ago where Suzanne was cooking, the extractor fan was on, and then the smoke alarm went off. There was no smoke in the kitchen, it was only steam. And
tiny little bit, not really very much.
And
then it went off.
And then, because it's connected to the system, no explanation from the house owners on how the system works. There was no walk you through it and if this happens or anything like that. So we've got this panel and Suzanne's trying to figure out how to turn off the smoke alarm.
I had a code, but I didn't know how to turn it off. So I could put the code in, but still the alarm system wasn't turned off. So it was really kind of, for me, very a challenging situation, because what do you do in that moment? You know, it's beeping all around and I don't know what's connected to it anyway. So this is one of the other issues if you have a high-tech household. On top of that, most of the house and most of platform agree to that is that they are allowed to have outdoor cameras, right? Outdoor cameras can be by the entrance, in the garden, around the pool, if you have a pool or whatever. So you have cameras outside of the house. So, what's about the privacy there if you want to go in the pool and maybe, you know.
Well, so I mean, we will openly admit a pool camera we cover up.
Yes, because
we don't want to be seen around the pool.
Yes,
you know, because if it's private, we
like to have it
like
private.
to au naturel.
But as well, when you are leaving the house and the camera is outside and then you leave the house, they know exactly when you're coming and going, and you have to feel comfortable with that. Otherwise, because most of the people will have it, like here we have it as well, they know exactly when we are coming and going, they can see exactly when we are leaving and coming back. Yeah. So it's kind of, you are in a way monitored. So this is just for you to think about it. As well as a house owner, do you really need that when you have a sitter in there? Or is it okay if the sitter, you can trust the person and not having to observe them, right?
So the underlying theme with both of these topics is trust. You just use that word, right? And actually the One House Sitter platform is trusted house sitters. So the whole question here is that around the integrity of our profession, if you want to call it that, is that, you know, how is that maintained by everyone? You know, so this code of conduct with house owners and house sitters around, you know, how places are left, how they're clean, how they are, the instructions are left for the animals and for, you know, looking after the house, etc. So, for example, the house guide here was really extensive. Perfect, and lots of detail and really great. We've been to other places where it's like one handwritten page and you're like, oh, okay, there's not much here. So again, if you're a house owner, please provide as much information as you possibly can. Make the effort to prepare it in advance, because you're less likely to then be disturbed on your trip if you have already given them the information. Be careful about who you choose, right? So how, you know, we get house sits because we're over 50, because we're a couple, because we have our own businesses.
We work online, we are with the animals a lot. A lot of people like to use house sitting, just between you and I, as a holiday replacement, so they don't have to pay for the hotel, right?
Yeah.
The question is, how often would these house sitters be with your animals or in your home?
And the challenge we face, particularly in North America, is that I think that some of the house owners in North America are aware of that, and they tend often to choose local people because they know that these local people aren't actually going to be treating it like a holiday home. So it's interesting to see how that's unfolded, and obviously for us who are we're nomads and we're traveling all around the world. If we're coming to a country and we're going to house it, then for them, are they thinking that we are going to be those tourists? Now, of course, we come to a place because we want to see some of that place and we want to experience it. But we never sacrifice the care of the animals for our holiday.
Pleasure, yeah. And if we do something, we basically do it on the weekends anyway, because during the week we are busy on the computers. Yeah. So this was topic number 2, is about
Surveillance.
Surveillance.
Yeah.
Right. Terrible word.
And I think, and I don't think that there is a definitive answer there. I think there are arguments both sides, so it gives a house owner perhaps extra kind of comfort that, they can watch if something goes wrong, or if they see something, if they're not entirely sure or so on. But on the flip side, then it makes a house sitter not feel trusted, and when you feel monitored, it's a little bit like, okay, so do I feel comfortable with that, and do I feel comfortable being in this home to like go about my normal day when I feel like I'm being monitored. So yeah, it's a really good topic for everyone, I think, whether you're a sitter or a house owner, to think about.
Yeah. And then the third topic for today is about how you deal with animal situations that you come in, because in every house sit you have a different animal situation, and we call ourselves, we are the holiday makers for the animals, and it figured out like it's always like that, right? We always think, oh no, we have a nice house sit now, we don't have to do anything with the animals to bring them in a good, in a good situation, but all the time it's happened like that. Because we are watching the animals and we figure out what they really need, and then we change some routines or some little tiny things that make a big difference. So this house sit.
Yeah, I think just to continue on your point there, is that we're stepping into people's lives. We're stepping into the life of the owners and of their animals. And so it's in a way easier for us to see how things are because we're coming from outside in. And often the house owners don't see it themselves because they're with it every single day. So the situation here is we're five cats, indoor cats. And I think this is an important aspect to consider. So cats tend to be different to dogs, because when you've got dogs, often they'll pack together if there's 2, 3. We had this situation in Alabama where there was 3 and there were a pack, and they all got to get along together. With cats, it tends to be different. Often if there's 2 cats and they gel, then they will be best buddies. But when you've got more than 2, then there is always this dynamic of whose territory is who wants to behave as if they're the alpha, and so on and so forth.
Who's eating others' food?
Yeah, and are they getting better food than I'm getting? And so on and so forth. And one of the things that we had here, so we had 4 cats that were existing together, but we had 1 cat that was peeing and pooping not in the litter tray. We had another cat who had been sick before we came to take over this sit, and then became sick again with the same issue whilst we were here. We've got 1 cat who lives in a 8 square meter room on his own, locked in. We knew about this before.
Well, we didn't know about the pooing and stuff. We
knew about
only
the
about
cats
the
in the
separated
room.
cat. Yeah.
So we were aware of that situation, and we did feel like maybe there's something we can do something. So we always spend a few days observing the dynamic. Who seems to be the boss here, who's doing what, how are they behaving around food, how are they behaving around the toilet situation, and so And one thing that became immensely clear here was that each cat requires their fair share of attention. Now, that can be challenging for a house owner if they're working and they're busy and maybe they just sit down in the evening. Now, we've got 2 of these cats who are lap cats. So literally the moment you're sat down, plonk, they're on you, right? And so there would be a tendency for those 2 cats to get more attention than, say, the other 2 or 3. And so what we found was the one cat who was peeing and pooping, when we started giving him more attention, and actually we lifted him, placed him on Suzanne's lap, and he actually started doing the kneading and purring and really enjoying it. They said he's not a lap cat, but actually we kind of proved differently.
Yeah.
And the moment, really, from the day that we started giving him more attention,
he stopped doing it.
He stopped doing it, right? So no accidents, no deliberate peeing in the corner or whatever. It just stopped.
Yeah.
And then the sick cat, he had to go to the vets. He had 2 nights in the vets. Then he came back and he had to have medication and he was still not feeling great, which was a challenge because he was not behaving normally. But once he got over that, and we then realised what was his little thing that he needed to do that they didn't tell us, that he loved to be brushed. So we start brushing him and he's lapping up this attention and really, really loving it. It really helped him to reintegrate back in after him being sick and to, again, feel like he got his share of attention.
So after 3 weeks, we had all these 4 in a good mood. They were all chilled, they were all fine together. And then we said, okay, now we do the next step. We try to free this little, it's a big one.
He's a big beautiful boy, actually.
We free him out from upstairs and see what we can do for him.
So one of the things that was clear was that he is traumatized by being locked in a room. Now we understand that there were behavioural challenges that were going on with the cats before they had moved from one location to another. And obviously all of the cats then had to move and then they were in a new location.
And a new cat came on top of that.
Yes, and so being in that situation, then it always with cats, when you change, they're less adaptable than dogs, and they don't like it very much. And so this cat, he really didn't like the change. He didn't like the introduction of another cat. And basically he was doing the same. He was pooping and weeing on the carpet. And so they got to a point where they couldn't manage it, and so they put him in this room. Now, the challenge with him was that he's so timid and so frightened. It took us a couple of days for him to come to us and start sitting on us, and he enjoys being brushed as well. And then we decided, once we'd settled these 3 down, we're going to open the door and see whether or not he comes out. And then he started to come out. And eventually we coaxed him to come down the stairs because this room is upstairs. And he started wandering around. Now, we have a little girl. She's the only girl in the house.
I get her.
She's one of the lap cats, and
that's the girl.
This is Floki.
This is Floki.
She is a proper little madam, because although she's a sweetheart, she does pat and hiss at the other boys.
And she's the only girl, we have to say, right? Yes. She has a hard life here.
Oh yeah, she has such a hard life that she gets the big chair to herself while 3 of the boys are on one chair together.
Squeezing together.
Yeah, this is how you don't come near me, I'm having this space. So she was a little bit like that with this cat from upstairs. But the other cats, they basically just ignored him or just let him walk by. And so he started to gain confidence. And so the more he was coming out, the more confidence he's been building up. And so then we played a little game with them with the little cat treats. And we started chase the cat treat. And so then they were all interacting with this game, all 5 of them.
Yeah, no problem at all.
And there was no issue. And so he just wandered about, and then if he got a little scared, or maybe
he can still run up into his room.
Up into his room and go to his place of security. And so we've begun this process of reintegrating this cat back into the pack.
Yeah. So we are very happy now. We are in our last days. We are leaving in a couple of days, that we managed to reintegrate this cat into the pack. And we hope that the owners continue doing it and being very serious about it, because the cat really needs the company of the others.
Yeah, and needs to be having the wider space and more stimulation. Like, he was sat in front of the window and he was looking at the birds, because they've got bird feeders here and we're quite high up, and you probably see the trees in the background here. And so he was looking at the birds. There's a catnip plant, and he was going crazy with the catnip plant. As many of you will know that they love that. And he was just really, really enjoying it. And then what we found is, since he's been doing that, he doesn't hide so much upstairs. So when you do go into his room, because we've kept him, when we're not around, we've still kept him in his room.
We didn't want to risk anything, right?
Because we're obviously, the thing that they made them put him away was he was peeing and pooping. So we were obviously monitoring very closely what was happening.
But he's fine.
And he actually used the litter tray that's on the landing upstairs.
With the others. So
with
he's
the
fine.
others.
He has his own litter tray, but he prefers to go into the communion litter tray.
So it was all good. So we just wanted to kind of share that experience with you, just to say, look, if you're going into a situation as a house sitter and you've got multiple animals, do look at the dynamic, look at how they're interacting with each other, how they're behaving around food. And, ultimately, animals just want love. Mm-hmm. They want love, they want fed, and they want to feel safe.
Yeah. And,
you provide those things for them in the measure that they need, then you have happy animals.
Yeah, you have and happy house sitters, because we love to cuddle with the animals. Doesn't matter if it's dogs, cats, or we don't cuddle with alligators, don't we? No.
We haven't had that alligators.
Sometimes when we're telling our stories, like we tell our story right now and share it here with you, we often think that we are more than only house sitters. And maybe some of your house sitters that are already doing house sitting out there know what we're talking about. Very often is kind of bringing the owners more together with their animals, because if somebody else comes in, and then you get a new perspective on things, and you can probably tell the owners, look, this is what your animals need from our perspective. If you want to take over, you will give your animal a much better time. A lot of owners took it from us because they were happy that we could tell them what they needed. And some home owners might be just ignorant and just say, we do it our way and we don't care what you say. But we prefer to see it that way, that we can help the animals. And we always say the animals call us. It's not the owners, it's the animals calling us.
I think from my perspective, what I observe is that I don't think there's many house owners out there, although we have experienced a couple, who don't love their animals. But I think what they do is they have animals in addition to maybe children or grandchildren. They have animals in addition to their job. They have animals in addition to them running the household, and et cetera, et cetera. We all understand what the pressures of life are. And so what often happens is that the animals get further down the list in priority. And so as long as they are not causing too much trouble, if they're just, they're eating okay and so on, that they don't necessarily then get the attention that the animals actually need. And I think that can be a challenge for house owners to balance their lives and give their animals exactly what they need to be healthy and happy.
Yeah, because most of the owners don't want to their animals to die early, right?
No.
So,
but the challenge is that when we are suggesting maybe you want to do this or want to do that, we had this situation with dog walking, for example, where homeowner didn't walk the dogs, but for them to get into a routine of walking the dogs was a huge thing for them to, I don't know whether we can do that, and so
there are always options, right? Dog walkers, children of the neighborhood,
but
or
again,
whatever.
it requires them to do extra effort, and often we find that they're not always prepared to do that.
Yeah. So these were our 3 topics for today. Hope you could take something for your learning. If you just start house sitting, feel free to ask us questions as well.
Yeah, we're happy, and we do this purely for entertainment purposes or information purposes. Yes. We're not trying to promote ourselves. We get house sets really easy, so we don't need to do that. This is more about how can we share our knowledge and help other sitters and house owners through our experiences.
So this was us from Vancouver Island.
Signing out.
We are leaving soon to Guatemala.
Next, we have a house sit in Guatemala.
Right by close to the Lake Atitlan, which is in the center of Guatemala. So we are looking forward to that. We have 3 rescued dogs there to look after. And we will come back to you and tell our stories about dogs in Guatemala.
So if you enjoyed this information, please subscribe, like, and share.
Thank you so much and have a wonderful time.